With the latest agriculture news from across the state and nation, it's time for the AgNet News Hour from AgNet West. Here's your host, Sabrina Halverson.
We are out here at the FIRA USA conference at the Yolo County Fairgrounds, and I have stopped by the blue-white booth. Go ahead and introduce yourself to us and tell us who you are, what you do.
Hi Sabrina, my name is Alon Asher. I'm the Chief Business Officer for Blue White. Blue White is an autonomous technology company that been here in the West Coast for the last 4 or 5 years with R&D in Israel.
So tell me, what does Blue White do?
So we essentially automate permanent crops farms. We convert existing tractors and equipment to being fully autonomous. We install an aftermarket kit on different type of tractors, and we connect this to our cloud software that enables growers to manage their farm autonomously and based on data. And we work very close with the growers and with dealerships in order to adopt this technology here in the West Coast.
So what does it take to develop technology like this?
Robotic technology is pretty complex in terms of how many different engineering disciplines you need to tackle, and especially when we're having here in the permanent crops market very mechanical vehicles. So our autonomous stack, our autonomous product, is firstly built on low-level control, which enables basically to control the vehicle electronically and physically. On top of that, there's perception, so sensors, cameras and LiDAR, laser sensors that analyze the surrounding. And you need to have all this algorithm and software that analyze this in real time, and communication module in order to communicate with the cloud. So if we're looking at our R&D team, it starts from mechanical engineers, electrical engineer, embedded software engineers, algorithms, AI, cloud software. So it's a very broad team, and of course a lot of guys that are working here in the farms to really listen to what growers are, what are their requirements from the field in order to implement it correctly and drive the value to the growers.
And you said that you focus on permanent crops, so any in particular?
No, we have a lot of experience in the nuts and vineyards. We're also working in Washington in apples and cherries, citrus, some berries. So we're expanding the portfolio, but we do understand that this market is very labor intensive, required a lot of man-in-the-loop operation for a lot of hours, and value that autonomy can assist on increasing productivity, increasing the quality of work, and increasing the worker safety is very valuable here.
Anything else that you want our listeners to know? Like for listeners who couldn't be here today, what would you want them to know?
So recently we announced a very important and strategic collaboration for us with CNH, with Case New Holland, and we're rolling a multi-year program how to adopt and implement this technology across their product line, on their tractors, and with their dealers. And essentially the goal is to give growers the tools to use this technology on their own, and to give dealers the tools to sell, support, and onboard new customers in order for the existing people that you used to work with and the existing equipment that you already have as a farmer can be converted, and we're not forcing you to do things very differently for what you know. Like your business the best way possible, and you know and trust the dealers that you work in, and we just want to provide the best technology and the best tools for them to do it.
All right, thank you for your time.
Of course, thank you.
This is the AgNet News Hour. I'm Sabrina Halverson, and we'll continue from FIRA USA right after this.
Welcome back to the AgNet News Hour. Here's Sabrina Halverson.
U.S. Agriculture Secretary Tom Vilsack traveled to Pennsylvania to highlight the success of the Partnerships for Climate Smart Commodities program, which has invested more than $3 billion across 135 projects since its launch in September of 2022. The initiative aims to promote sustainable agriculture practices, increase carbon sequestration, and enhance climate resilience, while also creating new market opportunities for farmers and ranchers. Vilsack's visit underscored the USDA's commitment to supporting producers as they adopt innovative solutions that reduce greenhouse gas emissions and improve environmental stewardship, ensuring that agriculture remains both profitable and sustainable in a changing climate. Here is an excerpt of the Secretary's remarks.
When government and stakeholders like those who are assembled here come together on an issue, we can remove the risk from the marketplace, and we can make climate-smart practices profitable for all producers. Let me spend a few minutes discussing why this critical issue of on-farm profitability is so vitally important. You see, about 60 years or so ago, we in this country changed our focus in agriculture. We went from a supply management system to a system that encouraged farmers to be more productive. The world needed us. Our country needed us to have more productive agriculture. And American agriculture responded to that challenge, and we have in fact become the most productive in the world. The challenge, though, was that this focus on productivity led to larger farms, which obviously meant fewer farmers, and oftentimes leaving small and mid-sized operations a bit behind. That, in turn, weakened local rural economies. And over time, that weakening can threaten both our food security and our national security. So, in fact, a former secretary, Secretary Bob Berglund, raised the concern in 1981 about the very trend of losing farms and farmland. In fact, since he gave that warning in January of 1981, we've lost nearly 545,000 farms in America and over 150 million acres of land that was at one point in time in 1981 in farming that's not in farming today. Just to give you a sense of this, the number of farms of 544,000 is roughly equivalent to the farms that you would find today in North Dakota, South Dakota, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Illinois, Iowa, Nebraska, Oklahoma, Missouri, and Colorado. 1 out of every 6 farms in 1981 is no longer in existence today. The 150 million acres or so, that's the landmass of Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Maryland, and most of Virginia. Seems to me that we can't let this trend continue. It's time for us to have a system that works for everyone and that starts by creating value and opportunity for all producers, regardless of size. 5 years ago, then Secretary Sonny Perdue was in Wisconsin. When asked about this at the World Dairy Expo Forum, Secretary Perdue was quite honest with all of us. He said, well, unfortunately, today, the only option available to U.S. farmers is to get bigger or ultimately, potentially, to get out. This is a pivotal moment because I believe there's a better opportunity for us to move away from that limited option where the focus is principally on productivity toward a system that indeed has high productivity but is also profitable, sustainable, and resilient for all sizes of operations, not just the largest of farms. An opportunity that creates new value and new income opportunities for producers. Today, 88% of American farm families have to have off-farm income in order to support the farm. It raises the question of why is it that the farm family has to work multiple jobs? Why can't we be smart enough to figure out how the farm can generate multiple sources of income? The key here, and this is the key, and this is what represented here, the key to real opportunity is creating multiple income streams that can achieve multiple goals from the farm family and for the country. Farmers and farms earning additional income, paying farmers not just for what they grow, but how they grow what they grow, and the environmental result of that how. And we're doing this through our support and investment in climate-smart commodity markets, which we're here today to discuss, bio-preferred products, biofuel markets, ecosystem service markets, on-farm energy production, and much more. All of which not only aids and assists the farm family, but will also create good-paying jobs in rural America. for those who want to live, work, and raise their families in the small towns many of them came from. Through our partnerships for climate-smart commodities, we're working with you to establish this new approach, collaborating with farmers and partners, and through our own investment, to create an economy that in fact supports rural communities, meets global demand for renewable and climate-smart goods, and achieves as well our climate goals. So some people look at the climate crisis, see trouble, and say why. But you and we at USDA see opportunity and hope and say why not. Using our Commodity Credit Corporation authorities, we began in 2022 to develop this partnership for climate-smart commodities, to encourage farmers and ranchers and producers to embrace climate-smart practices that offered a value-added opportunity and benefit in the marketplace. Now, USDA is investing more than $3 billion through nearly 140 projects through this effort in all 50 states, over 100 commodities impacted, relying on nearly 200 climate-smart practices. This program expands markets for America's climate-smart commodities. It leverages greenhouse gas benefits for climate-smart commodity production, and it provides direct, meaningful benefits to all of agriculture, including small and mid-sized producers, the 90% of our producers, most of whom sell less than $350,000 in any particular year. Now, this encompasses not just farming, but I should mention also our forest communities as well. There is obviously a place for agroforestry. And while today's remarks will primarily focus on the agricultural sector, given the significant loss of farmland that we've experienced, I want to acknowledge that our forested communities are facing similar challenges with limited markets. We recognize the efforts of those who are engaged in this effort, especially the American Forest Foundation and other forestry stakeholders, who are playing a crucial role in creating new opportunities for climate-smart forest product markets. So let me talk a little bit about the history of this initiative. We started this work, as I said, back in 2022, very focused on how we could create and expand these market opportunities while providing credible climate benefits. Many of you may have recalled that I announced this partnership with a $1 billion commitment from USDA in February of 2022.
This is the AgNet News Hour. I'm Sabrina Halverson. We'll be back in just a moment.
Welcome back to the AgNet News Hour. Here's Sabrina Halverson.
For this segment, we're focusing on research into utilizing solar technology for irrigation purposes. We have on the phone one of the researchers looking into just that. So to get us started, would you please go ahead and give me your name and title and tell me who you're with?
Yeah, so my name is Young-Suk Dong. I'm an assistant professor and extension specialist working in the Department of Biosystems and Agriculture Engineering at Michigan State University.
Great. And you just received a really great grant for one of your projects that you're working on, and that is to develop a solar power-based irrigation technology. So I have a lot of questions, but I'm so interested in this. First, would you just give me an overview of it?
Yes, this is the collaborative research project from Michigan State University and Purdue University to create an adaptable solar-powered microinverter combined with the IoT sensors to improve the efficiency of grid-connected irrigation systems.
So let's talk a little bit about kind of the project scope and some of the objectives. Starting with, what were some of the specific challenges in irrigation management that led to the development of solar-powered microinverters, and what caused your desire to look further into this?
So nowadays, there are a lot of center pivot irrigation systems utilize three-phase power, and they are connected to the grid systems. And in rural communities, their electrical systems can be unstable depending on where they are, which has been a little concern for some of the utility companies. So since we have solars, and could we utilize some of the solar energy to address the self-starting reactive power compensation and the peak shaving? And that's one of the reasons how can we help, how can we provide some technology that can be used by the farmers to improve their energy, the electric systems in rural communities. And another thing we have noticed, some of farmers getting a charge based on the peak demand. Whenever they turn the irrigation system on, the pumps on, the baseline, the electric fee is large amount. So that's why how can we reduce the energy cost of the irrigators, the farmers, so that they can maximize their resource.
And this kind of it's looking at a couple of problems at once. Like you said, there can be a lot of problems with rural energy. And if you lose that electricity out there, of course, your irrigation is not going to run properly. But then at the same time, you're talking about energy saving and a more obviously more reliable type of energy that you're getting from solar. That can actually be a great big help for the farmers, couldn't it?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Can you elaborate a little bit for those of us who are not necessarily involved in research like this? Can you elaborate a little bit more on how the system works?
Yes, so there are two parts. One's a sensing technology. I've been working on a lot of IoT sensors. Basically, what it means, we're collecting the sensor data from the field and send it to the cloud. And from cloud, the farmers or any users can access the data who are dedicated, access data to see what is going on for example, the field condition. In this project, we are going to connect the three-phase power, the monitoring systems, so that farmers can see from last irrigation system operation, how much the power has been used. A lot of times we don't know how much the powers are using each time they turn the irrigation system on, the pumps. So this will be really great opportunity for farmers to understand each application, how much powers am I using, and how much the cost that will be associated with the one application. So that's one part. The second part is mainly driven by Dr. Matt Lee from Purdue University. He's gonna develop the solar-powered microinverter that can be easily adapted to the existing irrigation pump. So this microinverter are connected to the solar panels, which can helps to reduce helps on the soft starting and reactive power compensation peak shaving.
And as you mentioned, you're working with a researcher also in Purdue. And so you're studying this on farms in both Michigan and Indiana. Is that right?
Yes. So we plan to do one demonstration in Michigan and one in the Indiana.
How will the technology be integrated with the existing electrical grids, or how moving forward, how can that work?
So at this point, we're trying to utilize the solar energy when the irrigation system is on and off. I'm sorry. In this project scope, we are focusing on using the solar energy to help when the pumps is on. Um, but in the long run, we should be able to utilize these solar panels. They are already in the field to send back to the grid system to get the cost shaving or the cost rebate and putting energy back to the grid system, which involve a lot of different codings, and this can be pretty challenging in some area, and we have to work really closely with the utility company to make this happen because every utility company and depending on the state, they have different codes, which takes some time, but this is early stage on the technology. We're focusing on how can we utilize this solar energy to helps to starting the motors.
Yeah, and I understand, like you said, it is very early in this. With there being such a shift toward more people wanting to go toward renewable energy, even in their farms. With this ongoing shift toward renewable energy, do you see that this would be like a scalable technology for different farms of different sizes? Or is this something that would be geared toward more large farms or small farms?
Absolutely. The one of the objective on this project is to come up with the decision support tool that can helps to appropriately design the solar microinverter system for size specific condition. We will take a look at different sizing for different size of farm and the pumps and what their needs. So that's one of the scope of the project.
So besides the energy savings, what other environmental or economic benefits do you think that this technology could provide for farmers?
We also hope to utilize some of the IoT sensors within the field that measure the soil moisture content and the microclimate. So The IoT, it's a great tool that because that connects all other informations within the field. So we are not only using the energy monitoring, but also we can include some soil moisture sensors, the leaf wetness, the rain gauge, and so forth, which can be helpful for farmers to manage the whole irrigation system. The sensing technology can help to know whether the soil is dry or wet. If it's dry, then I need to turn the irrigation system on, and how much that will really cost for farmers to actually do that. Some state people have a limited amount of water they can use, so this can be really beneficial for a lot of farmers because of the in-field sensors that can monitor not only energy but also the soil conditions and weathers.
Yeah, that would be important technology for example, where I'm sitting right now in the middle of Central California, which is nearly constantly in drought, to be able to have sensors that can tell you exactly when the field needs water, I think is very important technology. Do you see that as being something that is that something that is being developed very quickly, or is this taking kind of a long process?
We already have a in-field sensing technology has developed from other project funded by USD and RCS. So we have that. We're trying to leveraging that current technology with this energy monitoring technology, and how can we combine? How can we better help farmers to better making decision on when to turn irrigation on and off? Some utility company provides a different the electric rates for the daytime versus nighttime. So we hope that maybe we can incorporate some of those program into the decision making tools. Yeah.
Right. I know that my electric company charges during high use times. So that would be exactly when you're using solar power the most too. So I can see that as being cost saving.
Absolutely. We also working with the plant pathologist, Dr. Marty Chivers at Michigan State University, trying to understand how nighttime irrigation versus daytime irrigation are impacting the crop growth and plant disease. We hope that we can also include some of the findings, and provide some recommendation to the farmers.
A lot of facets to this.
Yes.
So what are you most excited about with this research that you're doing?
As a I'm also irrigation specialist here at Michigan State University. The irrigation has been somewhat challenged in a lot of different area. The water, the energy, the cost, whether irrigation is good investment in Michigan. There has been a lot of question, and the farming is challenged with the climate change, and all the costs that they're putting in to grow the crops is it can be significant and has been challenged over the years. So I'm trying to help to make a better decision on irrigation, the water and energy use. So my goal is to provide some tools or technology that how this could help the farmers to improve in general irrigation management. That's mainly what I'm really excited about. Yeah.
Great. Well, Young Suk, I want to thank you for taking some time out to discuss all of this with me today. I really appreciate it.
Well, thanks for the opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that we did okay. Is there anything that you want to add, or do you have any final thoughts?
No, yeah.
Okay.
If you need any other information, just let me know. Yeah.
I will do that. And I honestly do appreciate you jumping on this call with me and explaining some of this. I think it's fascinating. I think it's going to be very good for our farmers. It's really needed.
Sure. Thank you.
This is the AgNet News Hour. I'm Sabrina Halverson. We'll be back in just a moment with more agriculture news.
Welcome back to the AgNet News Hour. Here's Sabrina Halverson.
Foreign purchases and ownership of U.S. farmland and other farm-related businesses is a hot topic. Gary Crawford has more about it on this edition of Agriculture USA.
Food security is national security.
Senate Ag Committee Chair Debbie Stabenow opening up a special hearing the other day to explore how foreign ownership of U.S. farmland and food-related companies might be a threat to national security, and if so, what to do about it. It's an interesting, controversial issue, and we'll hear more about it on this edition of Agriculture USA. Opinions on the issue of foreign ownership of U.S. farmland and other ag-related businesses vary widely. Some say the amount of U.S. farmland owned by China, for example, is only 0.5% of all U.S. ag land owned by interests outside the U.S., and so that may not be a threat. Others, such as Montana's Senator John Tester, disagree, especially when it comes to specific countries.
When we're talking about the Chinese Communist Party putting up a corn milling plant within miles of a sensitive Air Force base, we need to make sure that this doesn't happen. Because quite honestly, China, Russia, Iran, North Korea, they are not friends of ours. They want to make us less than what we are today. So we shouldn't allow these bad actors to be on our soil. Honestly, the fact is that if they're there to have impacts on our food supply, that's bad business. If they're there to spy on us, they shouldn't be allowed to spy on us anywhere in the world, and certainly not on our own soil.
But USDA Deputy Undersecretary Gloria Montano Green told lawmakers that while many people believe the U.S. Department of Agriculture should go ahead, just move in and tightly restrict foreign purchases of U.S. ag land, the fact is,
our authority does not allow us to stop the selling of foreign land. We do not have authority to have a decision in foreign or domestic land purchases and leases.
USDA does have the job of tracking and disclosing land deals, but the system for doing that is a complex patchwork.
There are more than 3,000 county clerks and recorders' offices, more than 50 state systems, and more than 500 sovereign tribal nations processing and tracking of land ownership and land transfer.
And this reporting process is still being done on paper. I'm Gary Crawford reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington.
Don't forget, if you've missed any of our morning shows or if you simply need to catch the news at a different time, you can subscribe to our podcast and have statewide agriculture news at your convenience. This is the AgNet News Hour. I'm Sabrina Halverson. We have this week's Almond Update when we come back. We'll be back in just a moment. This segment is brought to you by Live Earth Products. To get to know a little more about Live Earth Products, we're talking on the phone today with Vice President Russell Taylor. What about humates in animal feed? When can you add humates to the animal feed, and what is the benefit of that?
So the interesting thing about animal feeds is just like the fertilizer side, there's actually a lot going on in legislative processes. So there's an act out called the Innovative Feed Act. And currently, you can't include things in animal feed that are giving you other benefits besides nutritive benefits. Let's say, for example, you had a cow that was eating a product that reduced its methane emissions, those enteric gases that are caused just in the natural digestion of a ruminating cow. You can't claim that those products do that benefit. So hopefully people will get involved and say, look, the Innovative Feed Act is necessary and should help farmers. Other benefits of feeding humate is obviously first to reduce enteric gases. But the second one, these are old plant materials. So those plant materials are rich in trace minerals. So not only are you getting something that's going to help the digestion of the animal, you're also getting an abundant supply of minerals. So that is the main reason farmers are currently including in their animal feeds.
This is all fascinating, but it can be hard to retain some of this information when you're hearing this on the radio or through the podcast. So is there someplace online, or where can our listeners go and get more information?
Well, the good news is the acts I mentioned, like the Innovative Feed Act and the Plant Biostimulant Act, are publicly available through Congress. You can actually go look at those acts. They're on the website there. The other information you can get is directly through Live Earth Products. So if you go to liveearth.com, contact us. You can contact us and our agronomy team. And we're happy to go over any details, questions about how to use these products, how they fit your farm program, how to use them as a tool to implement conservation practices such as nutrient retention, water conservation, and improving soil health.
To get to know more about Live Earth Products, you can visit them online at liveearth.com. That is spelled LIVEARTH.com.
Welcome back to the AgNet News Hour. Here's Sabrina Halverson.
This week's Almond Update is brought to you by the Almond Board of California. Find them online at almonds.com. And for this week's Almond Update, we're talking with Lauren Fan. Lauren Fan, would you please go ahead and introduce yourself to our listeners? Tell us what you do at the Almond Board.
Yeah, so I am the pest management specialist at the Almond Board of California, and so I oversee the research portfolio for everything from insects, diseases, weed management, and nematodes, and also looking at innovation for the pest management research portfolio.
So I want to ask you about a couple of things. I'm going to start off with asking you just about CAPCA. Have you had some good conversations out here today?
Oh yeah, it's definitely been really fun and nice to be able to see a lot of people that I don't get to see until I see them at the Almond conference. And also, I'm fairly new to the industry. I've only been with the Almond Board for 2 years. And even within that short period of time, I've been able to make a lot of connections. So it's been really nice to catch up with people here and talk.
All right, let's talk about the Almond Conference that's coming up in December. And you're going to be one of the presenters. So let's talk about what you're going to talk with growers about there.
Yeah, so I have 2 sessions that I've organized and moderating. One of them is called New Pests and the Prevention Against Future Invasion. So here we're going to talk about the 2 most recent invasive pests. We have Carpophilus and red leaf blotch. And then we're going to have someone from CDFA to talk about ways that they're looking at preventing these invasive insects from entering California. And we also want to talk about if you are bringing plant material or anything like that, what are the proper ways to do it so we don't continue to have pest outbreaks and things like that in the future, and trying to mitigate it.
Very important topic. As you went into your planning, what was your thought process?
I think more than anything, it's trying to get growers and PCAs the most up-to-date information we have about these 2 new invasive pests. Thankfully, and other countries that are growing almonds have these 2 pests, so we're not starting from zero. So we have a baseline that we can work from, and so that makes it better to be able to work together collaboratively with other researchers across the world. And so just thinking through that way is nice, and trying to give them, growers and PCAs, that information, and seeing that people are working on it and aware, and it's not being left aside.
Yeah, that must be really helpful to know that there has already been some research started in other countries where they're facing this, and then to be able to add on to that research is probably helpful.
Yeah, it is. And then also with Carpophilus, one of the big things where it feels bad to say excited, but we're excited about is that we have Australia that has Carpophilus and we have Carpophilus, so we can do 2 years of research in 1 year with the southern and northern hemisphere working on research projects all year long. So it's really nice to be able to have those connections, and so looking forward to hearing more about what's happening in the research world for these 2 invasive pests.
All right, so that's your first session. Tell me a little bit about your second session.
My second session is called Design, Analyze, and Refine Your Pest Management Plan, and I'm really excited about this one session. I know that growers and PCAs are constantly looking for new information on how to work together, as well as trying to learn as much as possible. But at the moment, when it comes to navel orange worm or stink bugs, there's not a lot of things that we can add to the toolbox without taking a long time of research. So, shaking things up, I'm going to have a PCA and a grower sit on stage and work through a pest management plan and designing it and talking about what changes they made throughout the year, changes they made throughout the year, what data are they using and collecting in order to make these decisions, and also trying to get people to think more about what should you be asking of your PCAs and what should growers be asking, or what PCA should be asking of their growers. And so really trying to get conversation and really excited and trying something new. So I really like people to come and attend and provide feedback, because we want it to be interactive, and so hopefully that'll get going.
That sounds really interesting to me. I like this concept a lot, where you get to watch what really goes into making this plan. So for people who are there in the audience, will they have the opportunity to raise their hand and give us suggestions?
I'm still trying to fine-tune the details, because the 2 people who I have speaking as their PCAs are Justin Ney with Integral Ag and Joe Coelho with the American Pistachio Growers. Those are the 2 people who will be the PCAs, and so I'm letting them decide on how they want to work with their grower, focusing on the economics part, focusing on what are the chemicals that they would consider or the modes of action and the pests that they really need to target based off of the history of that grower's orchard. And there'll be time at the end of the session for people for conversation, but I really wanted it to be like a live watch of what's going into making these plans.
Yeah. That's so interesting. So I heard a rumor that you had like your own style of doing things. Is that what this is?
Yeah, this is the trying something new out of a box thinking. Instead of having people just sitting and talking about the research and work, we're going to see what research is putting into action, right? There's a lot of data, science that comes into all of this decision making, and we really want people to see that in action on stage.
So what was the title of your session again?
It's called Design, Analyze, and Refine Your Pest Management Plan. And that'll be on Thursday, December 12th.
So since you've only been with the Almond Board for 2 years, that would make this is this going to be your second or third Almond Conference?
This will be my third Almond Conference. My first Almond Conference, I was able to be incognito, and no one knew who I was, and nothing was really expected of me since I was only a few months into the job. Last year, it was full-blown, and it was really exciting, but also I didn't realize how many people would remember me, and so that was also really exciting. But I had 3 sessions last year, and this year I was able to negotiate to 2 and try to weed down a little bit of the work that comes into it, because it takes a lot of work to organize these sessions.
Yeah, I can imagine that it does. So since it's still fresh in your mind, for other people who this might be their first Almond Conference coming up, what would you tell them? What advice would you give to them?
I think it is really nice the way that our outreach team and all of the people who've done the Almond Conference for so long have organized the Almond Conference in a way that makes it really easy to attend sessions that you want to see. So they try to not overlap topics that people will be interested in at the same time. So that's really nice. And I think taking the time to meet with the Almond Board staff and asking questions there, the staff and the board of directors and stuff, that's a good opportunity to find them and ask your questions and not be shy, because I know people have questions about what's going on in the almond industry, and that's their time to get the information.
That's great advice to give, too. Just don't be shy. That's what you guys are there for, right? For people to ask questions and get more information. And for people who are listening and want to get more information about the Almond Conference, what's the website for that?
It is almonds.com/conference, and you can find the agenda online and also register there.
That's this week's Almond Update from the Almond Board of California. Find them online at almonds.com. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the AgNet News Hour. Here's Sabrina Halverson.
USDA Monday issued a secretarial memorandum announcing department-wide and public-private efforts for connecting wildlife habitats through working landscapes. Rod Bain has more.
An agriculture secretarial memorandum focused on improved wildlife habitats and corridors and collaborative efforts for such within USDA.
Many wildlife in the U.S. depend on large landscapes for their conservation. If we're going to protect many wildlife species in the U.S., that we figure out how to work collaboratively, focus on an approach which is incentive-based.
One of the things we really want to do is to break down the silos within USDA. We should ensure that connectivity and the corridors are a consideration throughout all of our USDA programs.
These programs and the work that APHIS does really tie in and are interconnected in the work of NRCS, of the Farm Service Agency, and the Forest Service.
3 agriculture undersecretaries, Robert Body, Homer Wilkes, and Jenny Moffitt, participating in Monday's virtual call with reporters to discuss the memorandum issued by Secretary Tom Vilsack on Monday. I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
More than 70,000 students wearing blue corduroy jackets are in Indianapolis this week for the 97th National FFA Convention and Expo. Here's CJ Miller.
This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and it almost feels like a family reunion.
And that's Amara Jackson, who hails from Corunna, Michigan, who's serving out her final week as National FFA President. The event kicks off Wednesday and runs through Saturday. She says one of the highlights of the event is the expo at the Indiana Convention Center, which features more than 300 different exhibitors. And those include ag colleges such as Purdue and Michigan State, and they also include some of the country's top ag businesses like Corteva Agriscience and Case IH.
That expo is a great chance for students who maybe are unsure of their next step after high school to kind of figure out and have conversations in the agriculture industry of what could be that next step for them. That is the best place to walk around and have conversations with like-minded people to ensure your future success.
Meanwhile, inside Lucas Oil Stadium, which is literally across the street, the convention's sessions are underway.
During that time, students are getting awarded for different leadership and career development events, agri-science fair projects, proficiency awards, you name it. So It's a great time to learn what kind of project or contest you'd like to be involved in next year while watching other students get recognized at a national level.
What's Amara's advice for those coming to the National FFA Convention and Expo?
I encourage you to do as much as you can possible. Soak up each and every experience. Find some time to go to the expo. Find some time to go to multiple sessions. Find some time to explore and to meet people. There's no reason we can't walk away with more friends than what we came with. And so I encourage you to just be present, even when your feet might hurt from walking, and just continue to enjoy and find ways to get involved and engage.
And for more information about the 97th National FFA Convention and Expo in Indianapolis, visit convention.ffa.org. I'm CJ Miller.
That's today's agriculture news. I'm Sabrina Halverson. Thank you for sharing your morning with us.
To get more information on the topics you heard today, visit AgNet West at agnetwest.com. You can also stay connected by following us on our social media at AgNet West on Facebook, Instagram, and X. Also look for Sabrina Halverson on Facebook, and be sure to subscribe to our podcast by searching for AgNet West on your podcast app. Thank you for listening to the AgNet News Hour from AgNet West. AgNet West Radio Network, your primary choice for agriculture news.